Hi, this is Randy Nordell, and this is episode 12 of the SIMnet instructor videos. This episode is on SIMpaths. So what SIMpaths are is a adaptive tool within SIMnet that includes a pre-test on certain material, a lesson, and then a post-test. And so the pre-test and the post-test are exams, which were covered in episode 6 of these videos, and a lesson was covered in episode 11. And so it's kind of a combination of these and can be used in adaptive nature. So for example, if you wanted to test your students' knowledge on Excel Chapter 1, just to kind of find out where they are at, you could do a SIMpath that has a pre-test, a lesson that remediates on the areas that they may have missed, and then a post-test to show what they've learned. And so that's a SIMpath. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to click on Content, go to SIMpaths, which is one of the options here, and then click on the plus, which is Create SIMpath. I'm going to type a name for the SIMpath here. And now there's different types. Like we had before, you could do a SIMpath or a template. We've talked about templates before. That was if you want to create them and allow others to copy to a SIMpath of their own. SIMpaths are like exams and lessons in that you own these. You create them, you choose the content that goes into these. So we'll just do a SIMpath. The pre and the post test, typically you do the different scenarios. We have two pools of exam questions, scenario A and scenario B. You could do these in either order. If you wanted to use scenario A for the pre-test and B for the post, you could do that, or vice versa. If you have multiple versions in SIMnet of Office in there, make sure you select the right version and click Next. So here is where we're going to select the content that's going to go in this SIMpath. And so I'm going to select a textbook, and I'm going to use the Excel book. And I'm going to use Chapter 1, but I'm going to filter down the questions because there are a lot of different questions. There's 85 questions, and I don't want the SIMpath to be that large. So I'm going to filter for medium questions and add all of those. And then I'm going to filter for hard questions and add those. And so that gives me 41 questions. So that's a reasonable amount. I can get rid of one if I want, but you can make it whatever number of questions that you choose. So that's the content that's going to be in the SIMpath. That will be in the pre-test, the lesson, and the post-test. Now, there are a lot of different preferences here, a lot of settings. In the past, we've just had, for exams, we've just had one setting on those and then quite a few different choices within that. But on this one, you have all sorts. You have a SIMpath preferences, your overall preferences, but then we'll also have a pre-test and a post-test preferences. Now, this is where the help menu can come in. So if you're unsure about any of the preferences, the choices, use the help menu. Additionally, we have some wonderful digital faculty consultants who use SIMpaths who can help you out. So if you decide to use SIMpaths and you'd like some help, contact us and we'll get you in touch or connected with one of our wonderful digital faculty consultants. We call them DFCs, and they're awesome. So let's go ahead and walk through this. I have to go down each of these setting pages, go down to the bottom and choose Edit. And this is where you can go through. So you could allow them to skip the pre-test, or you can have them take it. You can allow them to skip the lesson if you want, or force them to take it by just deselecting. Same on both those. The complete lesson, this here means, and it's going to be the same down here on complete post-test, this means that regardless of how they do on the pre-test, it's going to show the complete lesson. By default, this is not selected. Typically on these, if they answered something correctly on the pre-test, the lesson would skip that skill and say, you already know that skill, we won't cover that skill. If you wanted all the skills to be covered, you could check that box there. Allowing to skip lesson, you could decide to do that or not. Allow access between post-test attempts. You could choose if you want to do that. That's not a bad idea. If you give them multiple post-test attempts, it allows them to go back to the lesson and remediate before taking another attempt of the post test. Show complete post test down here. This is if you want to have them see all the skills that were covered and kind of make it an exam that covers everything regardless of how they did on the pre-test. You could check that and have it cover all the skills. This is the reference to SLO, what it's tied to for SLOs. Once you set these, you can make it default so that these settings will stay the same. One last thing, if you create multiple SIMpaths, one last thing here, this allows assignment preference override. If you're creating these SIMpaths and then putting them in a template course and allowing your other instructors, adjunct or other colleagues to use your course, if you check this box, they'll be able to change the settings on this SIMpath. If you deselect that box, the settings that you choose will be the ones they have to use. So I'll go ahead and save this and we'll move on to the next one. So we have a couple pre-test preferences, and then we're going to have post-test preferences. So again, click edit. You could go through here. Time, I had 41 questions, so maybe I'll make this 45 minutes, something like that. Number of question attempts allowed. For a pretest, only one. You can't change the number of attempts allowed on a pretest for the exam. Even the question attempts, I would probably keep it at 1 because we're trying to assess what the student knows. And then there's all sorts of other settings here about random question order, all of that, hints, different things. I'd probably turn off hints because you don't want them to see the hints to help them, because if we're assessing what they know. I'm going to save this. You can make it default. I'm going to save it and move on to the next one. Post-test preferences, it's going to be very similar. All right, we can move on here. I'll change this to the same time here on post-test preferences. But then you can decide if you want to give them multiple attempts on the exam, multiple attempts on the question, and all sorts of other settings available there. So this is the post-test preferences. I'll save that. And now we'll go to course assignments. And we've done this with quite a few other, really every object that we've added so far in SIMnet. So whether it's a sim book or a project, I'm going to choose the same course I've been using here. And you'll see very similar, although there's a lot of dates and more different areas to customize within this. So, and even allowing open book, all of that. But you can decide on dates. And again, the dates are really granular as far as the start date of the SIMpath, the pretest end date, lesson end date, post-test due date, SIMpath end date. Okay, all of that you can customize. I'm going to just deselect the show by dates, enable by dates right now. Time limit, because we had that one setting selected where they're able to adjust the preferences, it allows me to do this in here. If I didn't, if I had that deselected, these would just take on the values from the SIMpath. I'll override points since that's what I've done on the other ones. And you could decide on these if you want to show these, the pretest, do you want that in the grade book, or do we want to just do the post-test? I think most instructors who use SIMpaths just have the post-test as the assignment in the grade book. And then you can decide how much on that. And I'll go ahead and save it. It's now added to the class, and that is SIMpath. So remember, SIMpaths are an adaptive tool within SIMnet that has a pretest, which is an exam, a lesson, and then a post-test. I hope this was helpful. Have a great day.